On this podcast, you'll find interviews with high-performing, successful individuals in life sciences. On a weekly basis, we cover their proven methods, principles, strategies, and mindsets to implement new technologies that scale to meet the needs of people in our world.
Life Science Success Podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Don Davis, and I'm a consultant in life sciences, and I help companies manage complexity and increase performance. One of the things that I also wanted to just briefly mention for everybody as well, if you haven't seen any of my recent episodes, there's an OKR guide for anybody that's implementing metrics in their company and looking at ways to smartly implement metrics in their organization. This today on the podcast, this is episode number 2 for me just today. And my guest is Jaswinder Chadha. Jassi founded Axtria with the vision of building cutting-edge analytics and software solutions that will help global life science companies manage and get insights from data and engage their customers effectively. Welcome, Jassi.
Thank you, Don. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's so great to have you. I've actually been anticipating this episode for a while, so I greatly appreciate having you here and having you on the show. And so why don't we just start with maybe telling listeners just a little bit about your journey overall towards creating Axtria.
Sure, Don. So my journey is, Don, I grew up in India, and I studied to become an engineer, and then I came to US for my graduate studies. I did my master's and a PhD, and then by a stroke of luck, got recruited to work for a healthcare consulting company in New Jersey, working with the pharmaceutical industries. So that's how I moved to New Jersey, moved into the industry of life sciences, and and that was a long time ago. That was over 25 years ago. Worked for the company for a few years, during that time, even though the company was over 25 years old, they got acquired, and went through that experience, and worked for them for about another year or so after the acquisition. Started a company called MarketRx in year 2000, which actually had its little bit of ups and downs like most new businesses do. The business got acquired by Cognizant in 2007, and then in 2010 we found an opportunity where there was a lot of confluence of things that we already knew, but also what a lot of new things that were coming to the market, and we decided to start Axtria. So that's been how the genesis of Axtria came about.
It's so interesting to me always to listen to these stories as well, because I mean, to me, it's almost like these pieces. I mean, sure, if somebody were to sit, kind of on the end and look at, where you are now, it's easy for them to kind of see, the success that you've had and things like that. But also, I mean, these journeys are so important as well. And the way that we all, sort of learn and build the pieces together to build something successful in the end. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so let's see. So you're a serial entrepreneur. You had a successful exit with MarketRx. What are some of the driving factors that led you to building Axtria?
So they were actually, I was quite young when, the acquisition of MarketRx happened. I hadn't hit my 40th birthday yet, right? So you know that you've had some success, but you don't know what to do next. So I actually went through the whole motion of trying to figure out, I want to do this, I want to do that, and ultimately what I realized is that we had built MarketRx during a period where the awareness of data analytics was actually not there. And yet we had built one of the most successful company in the life sciences industry doing data analytics. And as you can imagine, and now late 2000s, early 2010 is when everyone is talking about big data. And then people started talking about cloud, and they started talking about AI and ML. And we look at this thing and saying, wait a second, when everyone is coming to the party, this is not the time for us to leave.
Right. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. So so that was kind of from our experience and why we picked a certain sector. The pharma industry has always been going through a transition, right? I mean, there the cycles in this industry are driven by innovation, product life cycles, right? Big blockbuster products to treat major diseases. Then you come down to specialty products, and then you go into oncology and rare diseases and all that. So the businesses are actually driven by that. But when you look inside of the life sciences industry, medical device industries, what you realize is that internal systems and processes are not the best in the world.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is because most of the industries can't afford what we do, because we are blessed with high margins, right?
Yeah, and
So
fast growth and new drugs
and
and
fast growth.
yes, yeah.
So the thing is that so what we wanted to do was to essentially bring some of the experiences that we had, but more importantly, what was becoming available in the market. The biggest driver was cloud
Mhm.
infrastructure, right? Now think about it. Go back to 2010, and going to a CIO or head of commercial operation or licensing, saying your data, which you consider to be highly precious, put that in a cloud. And the first question is saying, how do I move so much data to the cloud? What about security? What
Right,
about my control? Access? What about all the infrastructure I've built around my applications that actually consume all this data? You see, the journey of the cloud was just beginning to happen. And now, obviously, we're also lucky. And, oftentimes you look at some of the other very successful companies built in this industry, whether it was Medidata or Viva Systems, and who had actually started convincing the customers that applications were going to live on the cloud. But that time, actually, Don, the customers had not realized that actually not just the applications, actually the data was going to live on the cloud.
right, right.
So we made it our passion, our mission to enable the life sciences companies to help manage all the data on the cloud, generate all the insights with it, with software applications, embedding artificial intelligence and advanced analytics in it, and putting the user interface on these applications so the business stakeholders, the business decision makers can actually have access to these applications in a self-service manner, the same way today you can pick up an iPhone or an iPad or a Samsung phone and actually jump into the applications that actually have a lot of intelligence built in there. So that was essentially the goal of why we thought that we were at the right place, right time.
And so I have kind of a side question that on this journey as well. So were there elements that you learned in your career history that said, "Oh, this is the right time for this solution at this point in time," or did you start with kind of an initial idea and then have to get move a long time? So many times I see in my interviews, there are discussions that we have where there's a clear point where the entrepreneur had to pivot, and or had to kind of readjust their idea. So just really interested in hearing how things
Yeah.
started versus where you're at now.
Absolutely, actually. So, you're absolutely right, Don. So when you look in the rearview mirror and look at these stories, they make a lot of sense,
Hmm.
right? Because I'm only telling you about the things that actually worked. I haven't told you about so many things we tried that did not work,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So, and so there are always those inflection points where you make bets. And by the way, you make bets about a lot of things. And as entrepreneurs, this is what we do, right? We make bets. But also as part of that, it's also about risk mitigation and actually risk management and understanding what's going to work, and then go double down on that. And actually, the ones that are not going to work, and kill them quickly. Of course,
Yeah.
take the learnings from it, but kill them quickly. So if you look at some of those things, so some of the things that we made bets on, for example, building business applications that were going to be analytics applications built on Salesforce Cloud. It was actually not obvious that you could do those kind of things on Salesforce Cloud, because what Viva had done was basically do business process application on Salesforce Cloud. Um, which is, yeah, it's data, but it's collecting data, not really providing real-time insights, especially at that time. For us to make a bet to not build custom software in our own technology platform, but actually using Salesforce Cloud is actually a bet that worked out really, really well,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
I'll say. I mean, that's a good point to probably bring up as well. So, I mean, a couple things I want to mention for our listeners. First of all, the title of the podcast here is obviously Life Science Success, and oftentimes we talk about the successes that people have had. But in those journeys, I hope that a lot of people walk away as well with, hey, look, there are things that this entrepreneur learned along the way that sort of built them to the point that they're at now. Maybe we should just take a moment here and kind of talk a little bit about Axtria
Mhm.
and what it is that your solution provides.
Yeah. So Don, the vision was that we started with commercial operations. I'm going to talk more about commercial and also mostly in biopharmaceuticals. Today we work in a very broad industry. So for us, life sciences is pharma, biotech, medical devices, diagnostics, animal health, consumer health. So it's pretty broad, right? But it started
Right.
from pharma because this is what we knew really, really well. And it started in commercial operations because this is what we really knew well. And today we are beyond commercial. We are in clinical, we are in real world evidence and health economics outcomes research. And that, so I think commercial and clinical is kind of the core focus for the business at this point within the life sciences industry. So, but when we started in this industry, what we realized is that the data was not harmonized. It was not centralized. Yes, every customer had a data warehouse, but quite honestly, the users of the data warehouse were never happy. They couldn't get the data. So if you go and talk to a data scientist or a business analyst who had to go get the data, they spend 80%, 90% of the time trying to get the data and massaging the data rather than building models and providing any insights,
Right.
right? And then for the business stakeholders who are to make, whether it's the brand managers, whether it's a sales managers or sales reps out there, they would look at this thing and saying, I have no idea what analytics to use. I just keep on getting dumps and dumps of reports on my desktop. I don't know what to look at. And quite honestly, the more important thing is I don't know how to make a decision.
Right.
So the decision support system was almost non-existent, and there were a lot of consulting companies running around in our industry, and many of them are still there and very successful. And the consulting companies are constantly feeding the business customers, do this, do this, do this, with using black boxes, spreadsheets, not really based on embedded in data and analytics. So our vision was, how do I change this? So how do I take the power away from the consulting companies and give it to the end business decision maker? And we realized that this was, I mean, it's a bold vision, but we realized that the data, the analytics, the business operations have to be on one stack. And that was not the state when we started. The data was being run by IT in a data warehouse. The analytics was being run by business analytics or consulting groups, and the business stakeholders are basically just getting PowerPoint presentations to tell them what to do.
Right. Right.
So that's what we set out to do.
And so tell me about the different solutions that you offer today. What does it look like with I believe they're called, and correct me if I'm wrong, Data Max, Sales IQ, Insights Max, Marketing IQ, and then Customer IQ.
Correct.
And can you tell us just a little bit about each one of them?
Absolutely. So going back to the vision, so the foundation of everything that we do and how our customers make informed decision, it starts with data. You don't have data, everything, it's garbage in, garbage out, right?
Right.
So how do you actually harmonize all the data in terms of ingesting the data, linking it together, managing data quality, business rules that actually govern how the data gets governed, how you provision the data for downstream applications for reporting, analytics, decision making, is basically what Data Max is. And it's basically kind of a twin cousin of Insights Max, because the Insights Max essentially has all the models and algorithms that are needed to make informed decisions,
Uh-huh.
and those are a pre-built library of analytics that is Insights Max. But it's not just the algorithm; it's essentially a workbench, so that a decision scientist, and we today have thousands and thousands of decision scientists using our Insights Max, that they can just come to the platform and not have to write any code, get access to the data and the best algorithms in the industry, and actually run the analysis and help the business stakeholders basically make those decisions. Now, in the whole commercial operations in the life sciences industry, sales reps have been the probably the arguably the most important part of the commercial success of the life sciences industry. So what we realize is that essentially the all aspects of Salesforce planning and operations management, this is having Salesforce strategy, go to market strategy, where do I deploy my sales reps, territory management, targeting, incentive compensation, field performance, field reporting, all of that was being done in ad hoc ways. If there was any so-called tools or products, they were spreadsheets and built on old database technologies and things like that. We modernize all of that and build an end-to-end cloud platform that a life sciences company can deploy globally, where every affiliate, they can actually have a common data model, all the tools that you needed for you to run your sales operation. That's Sales IQ.
Okay.
Marketing IQ is a little bit now an older product. We've actually modernized and upgraded that with Customer IQ now. The Customer IQ, the vision is that for the pharma, the customer is someone who decides to buy your product, which is a PCP, someone who pays for it, which is a payer, and someone who consumes it, which is a patient.
Right.
How do you bring this view of your customer together so that you can actually engage with the customers, having the customer 360 and running all your engagement with the customers, and knowing how do you understand the needs of the customer so that you are servicing the needs of the customer, and that's Customer IQ.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny whenever I hear you describe kind of what customer IQ does, because to me, the one story that I've gained from one of the other individuals that I oftentimes interact with in this market is that, this is the only industry where you normally will run into the fact that the person that receives services isn't necessarily the person that pays for services, or the person that at the end of the day has to kind of reconcile everything, to try and deliver the services. So they're like, look, we have three unique components that nobody else seems to have in the industry overall. And that's what I heard whenever you went through that scenario. I also have been a part of some of these organizations will have 20 or 30 people sitting around piecing together the spreadsheets, right? So I've
Right.
seen that as well, where they're trying to create this massive data set to hand to the commercial team to better inform them in terms of what's happening with sales operations as well. And so, absolutely critical, to deliver this as one package as well.
Absolutely. And when anyone does anything in a spreadsheet, again, they have the best of the intentions, but the challenges of spreadsheet is that people who build the spreadsheets are the ones who are basically now managing it. They become black boxes. You'll be amazed how many errors are made in spreadsheets. There is no transparency. So from a corporate governance perspective, trust and transparency perspective, spreadsheets don't allow life sciences companies to have proper governance, have the trust and the transparency in their organization. And that's what we're trying to replace.
The other thing that I would imagine most CIOs probably are concerned about as well is just this idea of, how do I make sure that I don't wind up with a monolith in my organization that in the future can't be upgraded, can't be adjusted, can't flex to our business? So how do I stay on a platform that, allows all those things to happen as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is where not just the concept of cloud, but the concept of SaaS really is very, very powerful, because spreadsheets can, well, technically anything can be upgraded, but I mean, how many times have you seen people upgrade spreadsheets,
Yeah, right.
right? So, they become that dinosaurs, right? with the and the consultants, and we have had a lot of consulting companies. They still exist. They will not share. They themselves will not share how they do, because this is considered proprietary to them. What we do is we give the whole model to the customers in a SaaS platform. And the beauty of the SaaS platform is it's highly scalable, it's totally transparent. And by the way, if you look at something and you say I love it, wait, it gets better, because every 4 months it will keep on getting better, because that's the beauty of the SaaS platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I definitely do love that evolution throughout time, and the fact that you can have, a longer roadmap that everybody sort of learns from and continues to grow from.
Correct.
So, you recently received the IIT Delhi Distinguished Alumni Award. So, looking at your profile, you attended IIT as well for your bachelor's degree. So, first of all, congratulations on receiving the award.
Thank you.
I guess one of the thoughts that I would love to hear from you is, how did your experience in Delhi kind of help,
Yeah.
in your future journey as well?
Yeah. So Don, this is where basically I'm going to come across as being very partisan, because I'm a very product alumnus of IIT Delhi, which I consider to be probably, I think it's been the cradle of entrepreneurs in India. And you know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that were born and trained in India. And IIT Delhi has by far the largest market share of the most successful entrepreneurs in India, and hence one of the top in the world. And in some ways, it's almost like the culture and of the institute. It's a very small institute. I mean, even though it's grown quite a bit, but just to give you an idea, after growing significantly, it has grown to, it only graduates only roughly about 2,000 kids a year.
Wow.
When I went there, they used to graduate only 300 kids a year. So the level of attention that you get and the infrastructure that is made available to you, and then but the culture is very, very entrepreneurial. Well, actually, the students, except for running the classes and the all of that, we run everything. We run
Wow.
our own dorms, we run our own dining halls, we run all our sports activity, all our cultural activities. And actually, we those and for example, the cultural festival that we run is by far the largest cultural festival run by any university or institute in the country. So, you wouldn't expect these techie engineers to be good at running those things. But, when you go out, you get out of your comfort zone. When you show up, when I showed up, I didn't have any experience in any of that,
Right.
but you got exposed. And that, I think, is the experience. So I unfortunately don't talk a lot about the education in the classroom I got, which was fantastic. I mean, it's IIT, for God's sake, it's obviously very good, but it's the experience outside of the classrooms, in the dorms, in the activities that I got, where that basically shaped. And it's also, when you go to a school like that, which has so many alumni who have been so successful, they give you role models. And that's, again, no one said this is a great place to find role models. But what I found was, I found so many role models. And I look at that and I got inspired by that and say, oh my God, if they could do it, they have the same background as I do. If I try hard, I can be successful as well.
Yeah. And so important to have not just role models, but those experiences as an entrepreneur. It's funny. I've been talking to a few of the entrepreneur education groups that I interact with about gaps in entrepreneurship in the United States, because what I'm finding is that, you learn the very scholastic sort of things,
Mhm.
but entrepreneurship, kind of to the point of, talking about, having to run the dining halls and the sporting events and everything else, entrepreneurship is very much, a place where you got to be learning all the time, and you have a million things coming at you that you have to sort of solution for pretty quickly. And
Correct.
so, how do you teach more of that, and more of the, I guess, less of the elements of, at least in the United States, here's a free market society. This is what, free market society is, and probably important for people to know, but less less important whenever it comes to tactically navigating entrepreneurship as well. So there's this, whole sort of discussion that I've started having, just trying to figure out, is there a way to develop the curriculum to support that? And it sounds to me like you had that, somewhat in IIT as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course, there are many other things that actually happen even after that. When I came for grad studies, I went to school in Texas, and guess what? I mean, just a few years earlier, Michael Dell, yes, of the Dell computers, had basically created this beautiful business competing against the giants in our space, which is IBMs and HPs of the world, out of his dorm, out of University of Texas. I mean, when you look at that and saying, wait a second, this just a few years older, and the person has this audacity to go create something like this. Again, look for role models. You get inspired that if someone like that, and again, there people like Michael Dell are one in 10 million. So I'm not saying that everyone can be one of that, but actually there are amazing success stories of entrepreneurs like that.
Yeah. And what do you, in terms of life sciences, let's talk a little bit more
Mhm.
about the future of life sciences. So, what do you believe the data and analytics in life sciences will look like? How is that transformation coming?
So, so Don, I think I look at what is the business transformation of life sciences going to be, and then what role can actually data analytics and software can play in actually facilitating that change in the business climate, right? So what we and sometimes the markets have a unique way of actually handing a challenge to you and then say go figure it out. Like COVID is a great example, right? Life sciences industry have largely focused on sales reps as a very more important channel to basically promote their products and educate the physicians and how to use those products to treat the patients. And then when COVID happened, guess what? All of them were sitting at home,
Right.
and they had never actually sat at home to do their job. So everyone had to scramble, saying, "What is the role of the rep?" And this is where the conversation of omnichannel customer engagement were beginning to happen, but now the whole thing accelerated when customers rushed because they were forced to basically say, "Okay, fine, I need to engage with my customers." And in this case, the customer is a physician. I mean, there are other customers as well, but physician has been the primary customer. They looked at this thing and saying, "Wait a second, I don't even know how to track and measure my engagement with my customer, because I have never invested in that."
Right.
So there are companies like that who actually said, wait a second, we have the building blocks for you to actually build the infrastructure. If you want to engage your customers through omnichannels, you have to have the foundation of understanding who the customer is, the customer 360, understanding what the customer's needs are, and how do you service that in real time with using AI/ML with next best action that then gets triggered through either your marketing automation platforms or your sales reps. That is the practical example of how we have enabled our life sciences customers to engage with their end customers in a proper way. The future is, which is a very important part here, is that the true customer for the pharma is a patient,
Yeah.
and the pharma has not done a good job of understanding the needs of the patient and servicing the patient. And we believe that this is where the industry is going, and even the role of the sales rep is going to transition into a service oriented mindset that is going to enable the physicians to treat the patients, find the patients and treat the patients, and data and analytics is going to inform them. So we are one of the largest data analytics company in the life sciences industry today, and we have partnered with all the patient data companies out there to integrate all the patient data to get a view of the needs of the patients, so that you can run analytics and finding the patients. So as you go through the patient journeys, you can look at patient clinical data and understand that this patient needs to be treated with these class of products as compared to a different class of products. So this is where data analytics is truly becoming instrumental in finding patients, especially for complex diseases, rare diseases. because
Yeah,
every drug that gets an FDA approval in the area of rare disease or oncology or many of the specialty products is a miracle drug. Everyone is a miracle drug for the right patient,
agreed.
provided you can find the right patient at the right time. And this is where analytics and AI enables you to basically service the patients better.
Yeah, and it's so important as well. I mean, analytics is important. I would say at the level of having the data to make the decision. There's so many decisions oftentimes coming at us that's where I just look at the enablement that AI provides is just so tremendous, in terms of lessening the human mind to have to think about these things, and more or less presenting either a solution or pretty close to a solution at the right time as well.
Because it's not constrained by our human bandwidth or our priorities. It's the its ability to connect so many data points and see the patterns and actually go through different combinations and run those simulations to make actionable recommendations is what is so exciting about AI.
Yeah, I think I read the statistic before that it's like 50 to 60 new drugs at the physician level, right? So they they have to know every single year 50 to 60 new drugs, their side effects as well as the impact that it might have on the patient, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's complex enough for them, let alone, kind of the commercial, end of things and the sales operation side of things and presenting your solution, which honestly might be better for the patients and things like that as they
Absolutely.
need care.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Axtria has been on a rapid growth journey. There have been just key factors that I'm sure contributed to this growth. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience as well in terms of the growth that you've seen?
So look, someone told me when I became an entrepreneur that there are three factors that will be very important for the success of any business, and that's your luck, your intelligence, and your hard work. And you can't do anything with the first two, right? So we work hard. We work hard every day in building products. We work very hard to servicing our customers. That is our ingrained deeply in our culture. And by the way, that works for many people. It doesn't work for some people don't want to work hard or you know go through this thing. We're not the right company for them. We work hard and really hard on this, so this is ingrained in this thing. But we're also driven by a very deep sense of purpose, like the example I just gave you about finding patients and treating patients. I mean, what could be better than that in the whole world, right?
Right.
So we're driven by that deep sense of purpose. So we attract people get who are attracted to doing things like that, right? Now we also sit at the intersection of this noble cause with AI and cloud and software. So I consider that to be a little bit of luck where we chose those areas and they became successful.
Yeah.
But we are also driven by our aspects of values that drive our culture, which is humility. As I said, we all make a lot of bets, we make a lot of mistakes. You have to have the humility to recognize when you have failed. You have to have the humility to recognize, to learn from those failures.
Yes, yes. I mean, I think it's such an important point because I've had people tell me before in terms of my podcast title. They're like, life to be a success in life science, you must be a god. And I said, no, if you listen to the show and you really listen to the discussions that we have, you can hear the pivots. You can clearly hear, the entrepreneurs, telling. I mean, we're not going in depth in terms of, tell me about your top 5 failures and then tell me about, we don't do that. But at the same time, I feel like, as you see this progression, I mean, one, you're going to see a lot of companies that come here and talk about their journey that are going to have natural struggles. And then you're
Correct.
also going to see, hopefully a lot of their success as well, because what sort of leads to the next, vaccine or the next cancer drug or whatever is life science success. So that's that's kind of the goal that I hope to share here. But that leads me to my next question, which is, what are some of the key challenges that you're facing?
So I think it's been very interesting. The challenges are many, but you can actually put them in a couple of categories. So one is that we have the audacity to say that we're going to be a solution provider to large global life sciences companies. And by the way, large global life sciences companies are not set up to work with small entrepreneurial companies.
Right.
And by the way, I can't say enough about how the life sciences industry has done itself a disservice
Mm,
by setting their how they buy software products and services, that there is highly biased towards large companies. So it's
yep.
very difficult for small companies to basically succeed in our industry. So we had to overcome that. I think we have done pretty well on that, right? The second piece is that I've never met anyone, I've been in the industry 27 years, I've never met anyone growing up that dream of working for the pharmaceutical industry.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, people want to go work at a Wall Street consulting company, want to be in the Air Force, want to be doctors. No one looks at this thing. When I grow up, I'm going to work for the pharmaceutical industry. Attracting talent into the industry is not that easy.
Sure.
So, and you know that over the last 2 years, there's this great resignation going on, and attracting and retailing talent. I mean, for us, when thank God that the tech companies are hurting and the valuations are down and they're beginning to lay off people, because I can tell you a year ago it was a very different market. They were throwing money at the people trained by companies like us, like there's no tomorrow, because they had so much free money.
Right. Right.
So attracting and retaining talent has been hard. Now, very interesting as an entrepreneur, a lot of people who come and think, getting funding is a challenge. It has never been a challenge for us. um, Building products, finding market fits. Look, everyone struggles a little bit, but can't say that those have been big challenges for us.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of this, the common themes that I hear as well across the different episodes that I've done as well. The one sort of hot button with me lately has been this whole idea of quiet quitting. I don't know if you
Mhm.
know this term or not, but the idea that you do things kind of outside of your sort of main job responsibility or main thing to build something else that may mean that you're going to leave the organization that you're with. And I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm like, that's one of the things that I love about being a consultant is that I can have direct responsibilities for companies, and they know exactly what I'll do and kind of the hours that I'll do them within. And then whenever I'm outside of that, I can do things like this, the
Yeah.
podcast and other things, but I don't plan on leaving them. I mean, I
Yeah.
love my clients and I would love to continue to work with them. So yeah, I mean, that's been one of my sort of hot buttons, but the great resignation, I also heard the same thing, in terms of, a lot of people leaving, good jobs for what they hope is a better job. But at the same time,
Yeah.
there's also a lot of people that in general just left the workforce like me and just decided to become a consultant. So that, that makes
Right.
it a challenge as well.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
So what about opportunities for Axtria? What are some of the biggest opportunities that you see?
So I think the biggest opportunity is that, one, we have a lot of headroom in terms of number of customers and the things we do for these customers in the whole commercial life sciences industry, right? So there is a lot of headroom. I mean, we're relatively, as compared to some of our direct competitors, one of the smallest major players in this industry, right?
Right.
So we need to continue to grow that. The second thing is that the success and the innovation that we have brought on the commercial side, we think that we can actually contribute a fair amount on the clinical side as well. So this is a huge opportunity, which is what we are learning. But I would say that we are more in the beginning of that journey rather than actually declare that we have arrived and we have succeeded. And I think these two are the ones. If you look at our journey, the part of the reason why we've been as successful as we have been, that we have the audacity to solve very tough problems, very large problems, very important problems for our customers, but also think at in global scale. We didn't say that, oh, I'm going to work only in the US markets and actually do this thing for some small to mid-sized customers, because the large customers, it's very competitive and then they want global solutions. We set out to build global solutions right from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's just a good opportunity for me as well to mention to anybody that's a listener here. So I would, I mean, Jassi is somebody that um, that has taken a lot of the information that he has, and they have it on their webpage, under leadership. And so you can go there and listen to him speak for hours. It seems like you've got talks as well as, just in general answering questions for your company and things like that. I thought it was just a tremendous resource for everybody that's a part of your organization as well. And just, being able to connect with you, even if it's not directly, it's, you give lots of opportunities to sort of hear your voice and the things that you're thinking about as well. So good job on that.
No, thank you, Don.
You're welcome. There are 3 questions that I like to ask every guest. Jassi, what inspires you?
So what inspires me was when I became an entrepreneur, there were successful entrepreneurs. Like I talked about Michael Dells of the world who inspired me. And what inspires me now is actually the entrepreneurs, like one of my investors and board members, someone like Deshpande, who have made such an impact in the communities. But at the same time, in spite of all the success that they've had, they are so humble.
Mm. It's so good to have have somebody that you can that you can look at as well, and you feel like there's that ability to connect, right?
Right.
To me, that's what I hear in your answer.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. What concerns you?
What concerns me is that, you know, I've been so lucky to get everything I've ever wanted in my life that I don't get greedy and lose it.
Mm,
You
sure.
know, again, it's very much at the personal level, right? So, for example, when I look around the community that we live in, the friends and the family and all of that we have, I mean, very honestly, no matter how successful we have been, nothing has changed in the last 20 years. And we're incredibly proud of that. The priorities that we've set for ourselves in terms of, for example, everyone who knows me knows we travel a lot as a family. I mean, my older kids we have traveled to over 50 countries together.
Amazing.
And yeah, and having the ability to do that, having the priority to do that, I I just hope that I can continue doing what I do. I'm really passionate about the work that I do, but I'm actually equally for me it is equally important to have that work-life balance with my family and my community and my friends.
So important. Last question. What excites you?
I think what excites me is when I look at the work that we're doing in the industry that we are in 27 years, this has been the most exciting year because I see the possibilities of and the recognition of what we do, who we are, in terms of bringing data analytics and software together to help transform life sciences industry. I think that realization and that awareness is at all-time high. And I am really excited about this. It's almost like I'm a kid in a candy store.
Yeah. Yeah, the tools and technology that are available right now, I tell frequently, I speak about this on the podcast as well, that it just amazes me, all of the things that are available today that weren't available before. I mean, I grew up in a, non-cell phone generation, right? I mean, the computers that we initially bought, I mean, you'd kind of laugh at today, but at the same time, I mean, it is amazing from a technology standpoint.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So Jassi Chadha, thank you so much for being a guest on the Life Science Success Podcast. I greatly appreciate you being here and sharing with us, all of your thoughts about the industry and what's happening with Axtria. So thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Don, and I would really, really appreciate you really doing the research on who we are and asking this amazing question. I love this interaction. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Thank you for listening to Life Science Success. For complete details about this podcast, including show notes, how to get in touch with guests, and more episodes, please visit www.lifesciencesuccess.com. If there's someone you'd like for us to invite to the show as a guest, please let me know by sending me a message at the podcast website. Please click subscribe on your favorite podcast app, share the podcast, or tell a friend about it. And last but not least, rate the podcast. Thank you again.